Welcome back, Rhino Nation, to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast. This is a limited special edition podcast here today because we actually are going to have two hosts. It's going to be myself, Brent Daniels, and the Driving for Dollars King, Mr. Zach Booth. And this is going to be really interesting because Zach and I both have coaching programs. We have mine obviously is the TTP program. Not obviously if this is your first time listening, but what that stands for is Talk to People. I have a program that promotes and teaches you how to be proactive in your business, pick up the phone and get deals, source opportunities over the phone. And Zach has a program for Driving for Dollars, for getting the absolute biggest and best deals from driving around. He's got a system for that. And on this podcast, we have a hybrid student here, right?
Yes, we do.
We have a hybrid student that is both part of the TTP program and of your Driving for Dollars program, and that is Mr. Scott Dallinger.
Yes.
Yeah, say hello.
Hey guys, psyched to be on the podcast.
This is awesome. So this is actually Scott's second time on the podcast. If you missed his interview with Cody Hoffine, it is absolutely bananas. You got to check that out. A lot of really great information when it comes to the actual seller appointment. But this podcast is about massive deals, what we like to call the MDs, right? This is the massive deals that we're talking about, something that it really just gets your whole business, like it takes your business from chugging along to all of a sudden you're at light speed because you make huge deals. And you, I mean, this is the exact like formula that you used in your business because you did what, an $85,000 deal and it just started.
Yeah. I mean, we started doing deals from the Driving for Dollars and started bringing on some people. You know, Scott's actually one of my first few students. He's part of the beta test group. Just wanted to confirm that it worked in other markets other than my own. And so when he called me with this deal and he was running the numbers, I was like, bro, that's like a six-figure deal that you have. You're going to beat my biggest deal.
Let's leave some mystery to the actual size and scope of the deal going. But
well, I didn't tell him he got it, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's it. So really, guys, you know, when we're looking at this, and Scott, say hello, kind of tell everybody a little bit about how you're running your business.
Yeah, my name is Scott, and right now we have a super small team. It's just myself, my wife, who's doing all the driving, and I have a cold caller in the Philippines that calls for a few hours a day for me, and I had him before I joined the TTP program. And just a quick note about my background is up until recently, only a month ago, I was working full time. So I started this wholesaling journey like a lot of the people that are probably listening, where it was just a dream, where I heard other people on the podcast that were crushing it and doing deals. And I said, I want to do that. So I started last year back in May, did my first deal this year in March. And that was a direct mail deal. And that's the one where I was on the podcast for. But I was working full time and just traveling all over the country for my day job and trying to wholesale at the same time. So when my wife started helping me in my business, started doing the administrative tasks, handling the mail, return mail, lists, and doing some driving for us, that's when we got really consistent with everything and the business started to take off.
That's awesome. And I just got to make a quick note that we're all wearing the same shirts, which is great. The TTP shirt is a classic. I mean, it is wonderful. If you're listening to this, it won't make sense, but if you're watching it, check us out on the YouTube channel, Brent Daniels, Real Estate Coach, or the Wholesaling Inc. YouTube channel. But we're looking good. We're looking good. It looks kind of
stronger.
It looks a little cultish, you know, but don't let that mislead you guys. It's
he made me wear
just
it.
Drink the Kool-Aid. Just drink the Kool-Aid, okay? No, but incredible. So you started December, you started closing deals March, right?
Started a year ago in 2018 in May. And closed my first deal this March.
Got it. And what took you so long to close that deal?
I was in Southern California, and I couldn't get the job done.
Yeah.
I tried direct mail. I tried everything I could think of. Didn't have my wife helping me, so was running through a couple virtual assistants and not having good results with them. But I had too much on my plate. I couldn't get it done, and low responses, wasn't getting good leads. So I just made a bold move and tested the market. Went up to Portland for a week and sent some direct mail so it arrived at the same time that I got up here.
That's cool.
Actually started getting some responses, and that was exciting because I was used to not getting responses. That's kind of what I needed, just to say, hey, let's take a leap of faith here and go try another place, because I was really committed to making wholesaling working.
I love it. And you know what, I think an important thing that to understand there is there are some areas that are super, super, super competitive. The price points are really high, and the deal sizes are the profits that you make per deal are really large. So this enables some of the bigger people to spend $80,000 a month, $100,000 a month, $120,000 a month on marketing, right? On finding and sourcing those deals. So it does take a long time in certain markets to get going, especially if you're going to be marketing to them, if you're going to do traditional marketing. It's a little bit different when you're picking up the phone and calling them, because if you catch the person at the right moment, you get that deal. But it is interesting that you went to a different market and all of a sudden it was like the sun is shining, birds are chirping, there's rainbows out. You know what I mean?
That's cool.
And I had family here, which is why I chose where I am right now, but it could have been anywhere other than where I was. I would have done the same thing, tested it out and gone and moved.
So when did you guys get, how did you guys get put together?
How did you hear about me, Scott? I actually don't know this.
Tom Kroll, on a coaching call, suggested to a student that was talking about driving for dollars. Tom Kroll said, I don't actually do it in my business, but if you're looking to systematize it, Zach Booth has a system which works really well. I think he's starting maybe a coaching program or taking on some students. I suggest you reach out to Zach. So he told that to someone else, but I immediately got your information and reached out to you.
Well, Scott, I'm glad you did, man. You're a guy that takes some serious action. I didn't know that story about you switching markets, man. Like that's bold. Good for you, man. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So you switch. You went into Oregon. You switch markets. You're rocking and rolling, and then all of a sudden, what are you doing? Are you calling them? Are you mailing them? What are you doing?
We were mailing.
Yep.
First, we started off with direct mail using the Tom Kroll list.
Yep.
So we bought that for a few different counties. I had my Filipino cold caller calling it. Didn't have any success off of his cold calls. Mm-hmm. I did my first deal off of a cold call off the Tom Kroll list.
That you did?
We started. What's that?
That you made.
That I made, yeah. When I was working full time, I really didn't have time to make calls. But it was like a Saturday. I had 15 minutes. I'm like, let's do it.
See, that's really important, because I'm telling you, if you don't have to be like, hey, listen, I got to make 3 hours of calls, or I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be successful. You can do it when you have breaks, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, one conversation. I'm telling you, one phone conversation could be the difference between, it could make you $10, $20, $50,000, $100,000. But I guarantee you're not going to make anything if you're not making any kind of calls or not having any conversations with distressed property owners. So you don't have to revolutionize your life and schedule to be able to make all these calls, right? How is it with driving?
Driving the same thing. Just real quick, talking about what you talked about. I was a student of this guy right here for cold calling. My first deal was 11 minutes on the dialer, dude. Mm-hmm. I was shocked. I was floored. She's like, yeah, I want to sell. Yep. I mean, obviously, that's probably not going to happen for you, but I just got the right seller. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's crazy.
It is crazy.
It's crazy.
So how do you fit in time? If you're working full time, how are you driving for dollars? How do people do it?
What you guys need to realize is it actually doesn't take that much time. With the systems that they have, the software systems, the technology of today, man, you guys can go out and pin anywhere between 30 and 50 addresses that need some love per hour. Mm-hmm. So, and it doesn't take that many addresses to find a deal.
Right.
When we first started out and I was pinning just the ugly houses, I mean, we were finding a deal every 500 addresses I pinned. Obviously, our criteria has come down and it's much higher than that, but I have someone driving for me, so I've loosened my criteria. But, man, it doesn't take that much.
No.
I mean, an hour a day, man, and, take a different route from work on the way home.
Yep.
Yeah.
What are you using? Are you using an app, Scott?
We're using an app. We started off using the app, Driving for Dollars app.
Yep.
And we liked it because it gave us phone numbers. It had pretty good pricing. You could pin super fast. We've recently switched to the Deal Machine app because the other one changed up their pricing structure. And
Yep.
also, I noticed that the quality of the skip tracing lately hasn't been as good as it was before.
Yep. Yep. That's what we use. I've got a group of 5 people driving literally right now, using the Deal Machine app, putting them in, and just taking over the city. You know, really trying to get as many as possible. First, how many house? I mean, you're in Salt Lake.
Salt Lake.
How many houses are possibly able to pin?
So yeah, so that's something that I teach my students is we try and schedule certain neighborhoods. We redrive every neighborhood every 6 months.
Interesting.
So, I have a student in North Carolina. His market's small.
Mm-hmm.
If he pins 300 houses a week, he's going to pin the entire market, the rundown neighborhoods, the areas that actually have fix and flip opportunities. Right, he's going to pin that entire market in 6 months.
Yep.
So in my market, I can pin about 2,000 houses a week before I saturate the entire market in 6 months. But then I start to remove those pins from my master map that I show my students how to put together. It's fantastic. We blacklist certain areas, so you're not driving on top of areas you don't want your drivers.
Right.
And yeah, so we have a great system to make sure we're pinning those areas over and over and over.
What are you doing, Scott?
So my wife, she drives every day for about 2 hours and pins about 100 houses a day is her target. We don't always get it. Sometimes when we go to the neighborhoods with the curvy streets, we're pinning a lot less, and sometimes she'll come back with like 140. But when she's gotten really good at just hitting the groove, she gets out about 9 a.m. every morning, comes back around noon. So it takes her about 2 hours to pin plus the drive time. And we're consistently building up our list. And I want to stress, we're going to talk about probably the big deal in a second.
Yep.
But we're filling up our pipeline right now, and something that we intend to stay committed to. We haven't gotten tons of deals from it yet, but we're getting lots of interest, and we're building up a big database of distressed homes in our market. And eventually we're going to convert that list to a lot of money. So it's something that we want to stay consistent with, and we plan on doing that for the long term.
Let me ask you guys both. How often is your driver or your wife, Scott, running into other people with the Deal Machine app in a car driving the neighborhoods?
Guys, people just aren't going to, your competition's not going to go out and do this. And if they are, they're going to be doing deals. But The thing is there's guys in my market that are doing it. I have students in my own market. Man, there's so many deals out there. It's insane.
Yeah.
But you're saying it's very rare.
Oh, yeah.
If ever.
Yeah,
right? Scott, has Alejandra ever ran into anybody?
Never run into another person driving for dollars. Never.
Right? It's really interesting.
Yeah.
But what most people do is, they go to ListSource, or they go to the county recorder's office, or they go to some list company, which is fine. I go to ListSource. I use ListSource, but I know if I can pull it in 3 minutes, a list, everybody else can pull it in 3 minutes, right? If it costs me $100 to get a distressed property list, it's $100 for anybody that wants that list. So it's going to be pretty similar list, and there's going to be more people going after that. Nobody has your exact driving for dollars list.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Nobody has it. Because you guys are doing your own thing. You're out there, you're getting these areas, you're driving in different times, you're catching people in different times in their life. Yep. And I'm telling you, if you have quality conversations with distressed property owners, that is the key to this business. It's the only thing that you need to focus on. And if you catch people at the right time, having those good quality conversations, we already know everybody on a driving for dollars list is distressed. A rough rundown or dated condition of a property is a sign of distress. It is.
They're emotionally detached to the property because if they cared about it, they'd take care of it.
Or maybe they physically can't, or maybe they it's been a rental, and they've depreciated it as long as they can, right? We talked about this for your income taxes purposes, and they're ready to get rid of it. They're ready to move on with their life.
Yep.
And so these properties, they don't have the budget, nor do they want to put the budget into fixing these up.
For sure.
Right?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
I mean, when you guys are talking to these guys, and I'll speak for myself, but what is the typical response when you actually get a hold of somebody that is considering an offer? Are they rentals? Are they owner occupied? Like, what's the mix typically?
One thing that was really interesting for me is before this list, most of my deals were, non-owner occupied. We actually found that most of these deals, they're actually owner occupied. Mm-hmm. They're primary residence for these people.
What about you, Scott?
That's interesting. For me, most of the leads I've gotten are like the nightmare tenant situation where they finally got that person out, the property's just been trashed, or the deal that we've done off of it was just an extra house, I guess, that the guy had, and it had been vacant for years. He's using it to store stuff.
That's exactly same with us. And our biggest deals in the last 12 months have been driving for dollars multifamily. Bananas. I mean, just big deals. Everybody wants to get multifamily. I talk about it on this podcast. I talk about it on the YouTube channel. But multifamily, duplex, triplex, fourplex, even going up bigger if you want to, right? But it's just a phenomenal opportunities because when there's your one house and it's kind of run down, that's one thing. When there's 4 units with 4 problem tenants and they're all month to month and they've all been beating up this place and it's all under market rents.
Yes.
It's fish in a barrel, man. I'm telling you, it's fish in a barrel. Yep.
We do run into a lot of property owners that's on our driving for dollars list. We've seen it. It's a really run down property. It's got cars in the front lawn, a lot of junk, and needs a new roof, and they'll tell us it's in great shape, and they really believe it. So this isn't to sit here and say that every person that we talk to is going to want to sell their property. We talk with a lot of people that think it's, downtown or close to downtown is worth $1 million because of the size of the lot.
Yep.
But the reason that we're investing in this program and building the list is because we want to be talking to as many people as possible that actually do have distressed property. So even though we're talking with people that think it's a great house, we're still talking with more than if we just bought an equity list.
Yeah, got it. So let me put you on the spot, and then maybe you can make him blush a little bit, make Zach blush a little bit. But what? Give us a couple things just off the top. I mean, we had not discussed this. Give me a couple things that learning from him really helped you to take your Driving for Dollars marketing channel to the next level.
Well, all right. It's the scale and the scope is the thing that comes to mind. I did Driving for Dollars here and there before I joined Zach's program, but it was just dabbling. Like if we saw a really bad house, we'd pull the car over and go, hey, find a piece of paper. Let's write down that address. And then over time, we'd compile 30 to 50 of these, and then I'd skip trace it. So it was a lot of effort for a really small list. And also I was trying to target just a list of the worst houses, the absolute worst houses. Since getting into Zach's program.
If you're listening to that gold nugget, say that again. I want you to say that again because that is something that was like my biggest mistake in the beginning. So say that again.
So we were just trying to find the worst houses, the absolute worst houses, the obvious ones, the boarded up ones, and keep those on our list, and also doing it here and there during commuting or if we got a couple hours on a Saturday. When we joined Zach's program, we decided to implement it as a process and a program into our business where now we're doing it on a mass scale, and we've widened our criteria and our scope in terms of what we consider a pinnable house. Now we're not just looking for the absolute worst, but we're looking for certain cues which Zach has taught us, like overgrown front lawns, obviously tarp on the roof, needs a new roof, boarded up windows is an obvious one, but maybe a crack in the window, a broken window, bad siding. I think there might be 1 or 2 other on the list. So that's how we're able to pin so many, is because we've widened our scope and we're able to build a bigger list now and hit more people with phone calls and hit more people with direct mail.
Love it.
And so we've systematized it thanks to Zach. And that's why I joined this program. I didn't want to invent this system from zero. And there's a guy I could learn from that has a couple $1 million business already doing it. It was obvious. It was no brainer.
Right, and I think it's important to say that Zach has made over $1 million from driving for dollars.
Yes.
So this isn't just hey, use this app and here's a couple good ideas. This is literally what he's done from failing and failing and failing and failing and learning and failing and learning and failing, and then finally you put it all together, which makes it exciting for everybody because then they can just literally skip 6, 9, 12 months of heartache and heartburn and going through those failures and just start implementing.
For sure. And
Right.
I can't take credit for all of it, right? I mean, I have a fantastic team that works alongside me. Cameron's my systems guy. My goodness, I couldn't have done it without him. My acquisition team, and then my amazing mentors. This guy right here taught me so much. All the coaches over at Wholesaling Inc. And then also my original students. So Scott, and 13 original students of mine. God, like when you start to teach something, guys, like you get asked questions that you didn't think of. Like I found so many flaws in my own business. And so, I mean, obviously, this system is making money. It's making money for a lot of people, but it's definitely been an accumulation of some really brilliant minds.
Love it.
It's been awesome. It's a blessing for me.
Let's talk massive deals, okay? So you already alluded to, you already told him how much you made, basically.
My bad.
But honestly, let's do this. Let's just put it through the filter of the 4 pillars of pre-qualification, right? So guys, anytime that you have, guys and gals, I say guys in general, right? When you have a lead, you need to pre-qualify them before you go on that appointment. And I teach that you pre-qualify them based on the condition of the property, their timeline to sell, their motivation to sell, and their price. Okay, so how was the condition of the property? So you did a big, massive deal. You drove for dollars. You got the phone number. Your Filipino cold caller. You TTP'd them, right? You picked up the phone. You called them, or your staff member did. Your caller did. And then, what was the condition of the property?
So I'm reading his initial call notes from the first call right now. He says, this is what the Filipino cold caller put down. The property has been unattended for a couple years.
Yep.
He's selling it right now as is. I asked him his price and he said to give him an offer. I asked him one more time and he said to give him an offer. He's selling the property in as is condition. It's in bad shape. If we want to see the property, we could set up an appointment on Monday. So, bam, that's enough motivation and distress
chills.
signs right there. We set the appointment as fast as we could.
Dude, I'm telling you, that's the best.
Dude,
like
it's so good when you get those leads.
Yeah, 2 years. I love how he said it too. Unattended. Okay. So it's been 2 years. It's obviously dated or beat up. Was it in really rough shape? I mean, was there really main issues with it, or was it just it needed a renovation?
Just needed to be renovated. Very old property, probably 10 or 20 years of having stuff sitting in it and no one living in it and keeping it up, right? So it looked really bad, but from what I heard from the person that ended up being the end cash buyer on it, they said at the end of the day, it's not that bad. We're going to put 50 into this, and which is less than other deals that I've done in terms of renovations. So they said, it's had good structure to it, just would need to update everything.
What was his timeline? How quick did he want to sell it?
He seemed like he wanted to sell it right away. I mean,
when did it end up? What's real life?
So real life was that cold call, I believe, was a Thursday.
Yep.
I sent my acquisition manager, who was my mom, out to the property and met with the owner. That was a Monday.
Yep.
We gave him a verbal offer. He said he liked it. He said that was fair.
Yep.
And he needed to talk with some family and needed to think about it. And I believe at the end of that week, of that same week, we had it under contract.
So 7 days, 8 days ish.
Yeah, 7, 8 days.
Contact to ask. Now, what was his motivation? What was his motivation?
His motivation, I still don't know exactly what the motivation was, other than it's just because I wasn't there on the appointments myself. But It's just sitting there collecting stuff, and he was ready to sell. Maybe no one had ever called him before.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. A
Yeah.
lot of these people just get direct mail and no one calls them.
And then the price.
So
Did he ever give you a price, or did you have to give him one first?
we gave him the price first because he never gave us a price.
Right.
We wanted to anchor low.
Yep.
We pulled up the tax assessed value and basically showed that to him, and we used that to set the anchor. And I think we went a little bit lower than it just due to the condition of the property.
Right.
And he thought that was a fair offer.
And that was what price?
That was 160.
Okay, and just before you tell us what you sold it for, this is really important, guys. He's talking about anchoring low. He means if the seller isn't giving you a price and they want you to give them a price, then remember, in every transaction, the value is determined by the buyer. Okay, I don't care if it's toothpaste, I don't care if it's gasoline, I don't care if it's a house. It's not appraisers, it's not the government, it's not the seller, it's not real estate agents that determine the price. It is a ready, willing, and able buyer that sets the price. So if he says that it's worth, what did you say, 140? 160?
We put under contract for 160.
If you say it's 160 and you don't over hallucinate and assume that the seller's going to want way more, then all of a sudden that sounds like a great deal to them. You sign it up at 160, and then you go on and you sell it for how much?
We sold it for 275.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. This is insane. Yep. Yes. Right? So here's the thing, guys. I think that we overcomplicate this too much. I think that this business is very, very, very simple. If you talk to people, if you ask them questions, if you pre-qualify them, if you find out that they're ready to go now and they don't have a number in mind that they want, then you need to see what they will take. Don't assume that you're going to offend them. Don't assume that it's too low. You set the price. The buyer sets the price, okay? Listen, if another buyer came to that same seller and said, I will give you $275 for the property, that's what the property would be worth. You were the one there. You were the one that called them. You were the one that solved the problem of the property with that seller, and for that you got paid $115,000 or something.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, man. That is, I mean, but that's life-changing money, right? I mean, it really, what does that do to your mindset? What does that do to your brain chemistry, honestly?
It's amazing. I mean, we made a lot of money really quickly on this. So obviously we can do some cool things on our business, like hire drivers, hire cold callers. We can do more direct mail marketing. Now, I'm trying to be smart here and scale super slowly so that I just don't, have a bunch of marketing going out and don't have the systems to handle it. But now all of a sudden I know that we're okay financially as a family. We can, take trips or do pretty much whatever we want to do, but we're trying to maintain our lifestyle exactly the same. And just this is business money, and we're going to accumulate it, reinvest it, and then we could start to close on properties ourselves eventually, buy some rentals. So it's just seed money for that sort of stuff.
Isn't that so encouraging? I mean, don't you feel encouraged? I mean, I feel like you got to be listening to this, and I've had big deals, but I've never had $115,000 assignment. You know what I mean? But it feels now, just listening to it, I'm like, I can do that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I know that the first time that I did a deal over $50,000, it changed everything.
Yeah.
It really changes everything. It is a big mental shift. It changes the chemistry in your brain, right? And I just think to myself, like, you can't limit yourself on these deals. You can't assume that you can only make a certain amount on these deals. You can get massive deals if you're looking for them. Like, this is just it's just wildly encouraging. Don't you think? I mean,
Brent, as you're talking, I'm having deja vu because I remember driving around back in January, listening to you on the podcast, talking about when you get your first deal, it changes your brain chemistry.
Yep.
And here I am back in January, never having done a deal before. I'm spending my little free time driving for dollars, just grinding on the hope and on the prayer and on faith that it's going to happen. And hearing you say that, I was like, I know it's going to happen. I know I'll get that brain chemistry change. I just got to knock that first one.
Yep.
I'm getting a call right now from driving for dollars lead. This could be a closing call, but I'm gonna finish the podcast
Gold.
and I'll get that deal.
Answer it.
That's the driving for dollars
That'd be
cold call.
hilarious. Have him answer it live.
Yeah. Anyway, awesome. I mean, I think, having a blend of both of the programs here, being able to have this conversation with you, it's wonderfully encouraging, and it's fantastically rewarding, I think, for both of us to see you just do such an amazing job at this thing. And sky's the limit for you, man. I want you to keep going, keep that mentality. Really, really, really excellent. Really excellent.
And thanks for sharing with the other listeners, Scott, and sharing this deal. I mean, it can be done. I mean, I was there not too long ago. I mean, this is.
Yeah, Scott TTP'd me. He came into my office before joining the program because he was in town on a business trip, right? This is your old job that you were with, right? And he came in, we spent some time together, and then eventually you got into it and got serious about it and joined, which was great. And now you're sitting, 7 deals deep, right? You said you've closed 7, is that right?
Yeah, 7.
You've got a pipeline going, and then of those 7 deals, what does that kind of amount to? Do you know what the total amount that is?
So a little bit embarrassing because I know there's cash buyers in my market that listen to this podcast, but we're north of 300,000 now.
300,000 for the year.
Don't be embarrassed by that. Where's your victory bell, my
That's
man?
awesome. That's absolutely
amazing.
love it. Yeah, 300,000. Well, I'll let you ring it this time. Come on, man.
Yes. I'm not good at this yet.
Ring it.
I'm not good at this yet.
Get away from the microphone. There
We
we
were
go.
practicing this before. Here we go.
There we go. You got them from both the coaches. So awesome, man. Really, really appreciate it, Scott.
I want to stress that this ended up being a win-win-win on this deal because the owner was so happy to sell it to us. It was a success for him. We helped him move out his stuff. We took care of his piano, moved it to the location that he wanted it to go to. He needed time to sort through family heirlooms and belongings. So that's what we provided to him, a quick solution that solved his problem. We were rewarded for it financially, and our end buyer is going to do a tasteful remodel and also make a nice profit. It was a home run for them too, and that's what it's all about.
That's what it's about. 100%. Love it. Zach, how do people get a hold of you to reach out? Because the program's not even out yet.
Yeah, the mass launch isn't
Yeah.
even started. I came down here to get some more coaching from my man here. And
So what they reach out to you how?
man, you could right now. The only thing I have set up, you can reach out to me through Facebook. So you can find me Zach Booth. So ZACK. Last name's BOOTHE. So you can send me a message on Facebook, and I'll get back to you. So,
Awesome.
And pretty soon you'll have access to me through Wholesaling Inc. and everything else. So
Great. Check it out. I'm telling you guys, I am behind the scenes on this thing. I make a cameo appearance in the actual program, and it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. And for the price versus value is off the charts. It really is.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely crazy. And if you're looking to join the most proactive group in real estate, wearing the same shirts, the TTP shirts, but if you're looking to join the most proactive group in real estate investing, you got to check out wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Check out the page. Make sure you see the testimonials. Make sure you see what the program's all about. In your gut, if it feels good, then make sure that you schedule a call. It'll be the best call of your year. If you do join, I look forward to interviewing you on this podcast, on these videos, on the YouTube channel, because we are serious. We are absolutely making superstars. So you guys are the best. I encourage you all to talk to people. Until next time, guys. See ya.